Oh, you won't believe the firestorm that just erupted inside Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Season 13. And it all started when Spice and Scrappy decided they'd had enough of whispers and decided to corner Mendeecees right in front of everybody. The tension was so thick you could feel it through the screen, as fans immediately sensed that something was about to blow. For weeks, rumors have been swirling that Yandy and Mendeecees might not be as picture-perfect as they once appeared. But no one expected the moment to get this raw, this direct, and this explosive. Imagine sitting at a table with friends when suddenly the questions turn sharp. The smiles fade, and every eye locks onto you. That's exactly what happened as Spice leaned forward, her voice cutting through the noise, asking point blank about the state of his marriage. Scrappy quickly joined in, pushing the issue even further, refusing to let Mendeecees dodge the elephant in the room. Viewers at home were stunned, some even calling it the most shocking confrontation of the season so far. What unfolded next wasn't just another casual reality TV chat, it was a gut-wrenching moment that left everyone wondering if one of the show's most enduring couples is truly on the verge of collapse. The air inside the room felt heavy the moment Spice locked her eyes on Mendeecees with that sharp glare only she could give. There was no music, no jokes, no distractions, just raw energy radiating between them as Scrappy leaned back in his chair, waiting for the perfect moment to add his own pressure. Mendeecees tried to keep his cool, adjusting his jacket, flashing that calm demeanor he was known for. But it was obvious even he couldn't ignore the weight of the questions coming his way. Spice had been patient for too long, watching Yandy parade around with her perfect image, while whispers kept circling about cracks forming in the foundation of her marriage. So when the chance finally came, she pounced, asking straight out what everyone had been dying to know. How are you and Yandy really doing? Mendeecees let out a low sigh, the kind that signals a storm is brewing. He spoke softly at first, almost like he hoped no one would really catch his words. He admitted that things had been difficult, that he wasn't even sure how to describe where they stood. It was the kind of vague response that only raised more eyebrows and made the silence around him feel even louder. Scrappy shook his head slowly, leaning forward, his voice carrying more bite. Bro, you've been holding it down for years, everybody knows that, but right now it don't look like you sure of nothing. So what's the real deal? Fans watching this unfold couldn't believe their ears. Social media lit up within minutes with people typing out their shock, calling it the most uncomfortable moment of the entire season so far. Some were defending Mendeecees, saying he deserved privacy, while others accused him of hiding something, insisting his hesitation said more than his words ever could. In that moment, the man who had built a reputation as steady and loyal suddenly looked like he was carrying a secret too heavy to reveal. Spice wasn't about to let him slide with half answers. She leaned closer, her tone sharper now, reminding him that Yandy had built her own empire, fought battles in front of cameras, and carried herself as though nothing could shake her. But if she's that strong, and you right there by her side, why is it sounding like you don't even know where y'all at? Spice pressed. The question cut deep, and you could see Mendeecees shift uncomfortably in his seat, as though he'd been caught between protecting his pride and revealing a painful truth. Then came Carly, never one to miss a chance to stir the pot. Tossing her words like gasoline onto an already sparking flame, she smirked, twirling her drink before asking with that sly tone, "So are you together or not?" The entire table froze for a beat, the silence echoing like a drumbeat, every pair of eyes fixed on Mendeecees, waiting for him to either confirm or deny the whispers. His face tightened, his jaw clenching as if he wanted to say something but couldn't bring himself to release the words. Instead, he muttered that it had been 2 decades, that no matter what, family was family, and that sometimes the bond didn't need explaining, but the lack of a direct answer only fueled more suspicion. Scrappy exchanged a look with Spice, both of them silently agreeing that something wasn't right here. Outside of the show, fans speculated wildly about what might really be going on. Some claimed they had seen Yandy posting cryptic messages online about loyalty and patience, while others insisted Mendeecees had been spotted without his wedding ring during recent appearances. Whether true or not, the chatter only grew louder, feeding the sense that a major revelation was just around the corner. Inside the group, the energy kept shifting. Friends who once laughed easily together now exchanged wary glances, unsure if pressing further would break everything apart. Spice's voice softened slightly, but the edge remained. She reminded Mendeecees that hiding the truth never protected anyone for long, and that eventually everything came to light. Mendeecees leaned back, rubbing his hands together as though trying to gather the strength to face the fire. His tone cracked with a mix of frustration and exhaustion, as he admitted that carrying the weight of expectations had drained him. Being the rock of the family, the one who always had the answers, wasn't easy. And sometimes he just didn't know how much more he could handle. This honesty shocked the group into silence. For a moment, the usual bickering and back and forth fell away, replaced by the raw image of a man bearing his soul. Scrappy nodded slowly, acknowledging the pain in his friend's voice. But Spice wasn't satisfied yet. She wanted clarity, a statement, something that would either confirm the marriage was on shaky ground or prove that the rumors were nothing but smoke. Carly, of course, couldn't resist pushing harder. She leaned forward, her smile wicked, whispering just loud enough for everyone to hear. "I think Yandy's already made her decision. Maybe she just hasn't told you yet." The words landed like a bomb, leaving everyone stunned, their mouths open in disbelief. The accusation was brutal, the kind that no one expected to be said out loud. Yet Carly delivered it with ease. The room erupted into chaos, voices overlapping as some tried to defend Yandy, while others piled onto the theory that maybe the power couple wasn't as solid as they wanted the world to believe. Mendeecees sat frozen, his face a mask of conflicted emotions, caught between anger and heartbreak. The whispers of betrayal hung in the air, twisting the atmosphere into something far heavier than anyone had anticipated. As the night stretched on, the questions kept piling up. Friends demanded honesty, but Mendeecees remained caught in his silence, leaving everyone frustrated and restless. What started as a casual conversation had now turned into a full-blown interrogation, and the man at the center of it all looked more cornered than ever. What he would say next had the power to either mend the cracks or shatter the image completely, and everyone in the room knew it. The tension in the room was almost unbearable as voices rose and silence fell in rapid waves, like thunder chasing lightning. Mendeecees had always been the kind of man who kept his business close to the chest, someone who let actions speak louder than words. But tonight, with Spice pressing, Scrappy leaning in, and Carly tossing fire every chance she got, there was no safe space left for him to retreat. The cameras caught every twitch, every glance, every subtle shift in his body language, and fans watching at home were glued to the screen, waiting for a truth that refused to fully surface. Spice tapped her nails on the table, the rhythm sharp and deliberate, a sound that only heightened the pressure. "You know, I'm not trying to put you on blast just to be messy," she said, her voice lowering, though the intensity never wavered. "But we've seen Yandy fight for you, stand by you when times were rough, when people doubted her, when she had to carry everything by herself. So when you say you don't know where you two stand, that don't sound like the man she fought so hard for. It sounds like somebody ready to give up." Those words cut through the air like a blade. Scrappy leaned back, his arms folded, his eyes narrowing as if he was measuring every word Mendeecees might dare to say. "Real talk," Scrappy added. "You don't just get to dance around the question. Everybody here got relationships, everybody here know how hard it get, but we either in or we out. There ain't no middle ground if you claim it's love. Middle ground if you claim it's love." Mendeecees let out a frustrated laugh, one without humor, and shook his head. "See, that's the thing. Everybody think they know what's going on, but y'all only see pieces. Yandy and me, we've been through things y'all can't even imagine. I can't just explain all of that in a couple of words at a table. It's complicated." Carly smirked, sipping her drink with exaggerated slowness, then set it down just in time to deliver another strike. "Complicated?" she repeated mockingly. "That's what men say when they already got one foot out the door. Yandy out here looking like she holding it together, and you sitting here acting like you don't even know if y'all solid or not. Sounds like complicated is just code for broken." The comment set off a spark, with Spice snapping her head toward Carly. "You messy, you know that," Spice shot back, though the glint in her eyes showed she was secretly glad the question had been asked. "But maybe messy's what we need right now because clearly he ain't giving us the real answer." The fans online had a field day with this moment, their reactions pouring in like wildfire. Some were laughing at Carly's boldness, calling her the queen of instigation, while others slammed her for being insensitive. Hashtags about the couple's rumored split trended within minutes, proving just how invested viewers were in seeing cracks in a marriage they once believed was unshakable. Inside the room, though, the laughter from fans was nowhere to be found. The atmosphere was heavy, layered with suspicion and curiosity. Scrappy leaned forward again, his tone more serious now. "Look, I've been knowing you for a long time. I ain't never seen you stumble like this, so let's just get real, bro. Are you and Yandy still the team we all thought y'all were, or is it just a front at this point?" Mendeecees' shoulders slumped slightly, the weight of the question finally showing in his posture. He took a long pause before speaking, his voice quieter now, almost weary. "I love Yandy. Ain't no denying that. But love don't mean everything always perfect. Sometimes love ain't enough to fix the cracks. We got history, we got kids, we got memories, and that makes it even harder." But right now, I can't sit here and say we're where we're supposed to be. The room went silent again, everyone digesting the confession. Spice's expression softened, but the fire in her words didn't. See, that's what people scared to admit. You can love somebody and still be lost with them. But the thing is, Yandy ain't never lost when it came to you. She stood tall even when the world was against her. So what's it gonna take for you to stand tall for her? The directness of Spice's challenge rattled him, though he tried not to show it. Scrappy nodded in agreement, adding, "And that's facts. If she'd been carrying it, why is she still carrying it alone?" While the words stung, they also reflected a truth that fans had whispered about for months. Social media buzzed with comparisons of Yandy's strength to Mendeecees' silence, with many arguing that the imbalance in their relationship had been visible for a long time. Others defended him, saying no one knew the whole story and that everyone had a breaking point. Just when it seemed like the moment couldn't get heavier, Carly leaned in with another bomb. Maybe it ain't about love or history or family. Maybe it's about trust. Maybe Yandy don't trust you the way she used to. Maybe that's why you sound so unsure. Gasps echoed around the table, the audacity of her words leaving mouths open and heads shaking. Mendeecees' face hardened, his eyes narrowing at Carly with an intensity that made it clear she'd struck a nerve. "You don't know what you talking about," he snapped, his voice carrying more edge than before. "Don't sit here and act like you know my household." But Carly wasn't done. She raised her brows, feigning innocence, and said, "I don't have to know your household. I can see it in your eyes." The confrontation escalated, voices overlapping as Spice tried to redirect the conversation while Scrappy attempted to calm things down. Still, the damage had been done. The seed of doubt had been planted, and fans watching replayed the moment again and again, dissecting every glance, every pause, every shift in tone. As the chaos slowly settled, Spice leaned back in her chair, shaking her head. "Look, at the end of the day, all I'm saying is this. People can say what they want, but if you don't clear it up, the street's gonna make their own story. And once the streets start talking, it's out of your hands." Mendeecees rubbed his temples, clearly exhausted, but he couldn't deny the truth in her words. He knew better than anyone that once rumors caught fire, controlling the narrative became nearly impossible. Yet still, his silence remained his shield, and that shield was starting to crack under the weight of expectation. The night wore on, but the conversation never fully resolved. The questions kept circling, the tension never quite breaking. As the cameras zoomed in on Mendeecees' troubled expression, the scene closed with the undeniable sense that something bigger was brewing, something that might finally force the truth into the open. The next day, the whispers refused to die down. Word of the confrontation had already spread beyond the circle of friends, and by morning, fans on every platform were dissecting each second of what went down. Some slowed down the footage, pointing out how Mendeecees' hands fidgeted under the table, while others focused on Spice's fierce stare that seemed to pierce through every excuse. The phrase, "So are you together or not?" trended online, clipped and replayed countless times, becoming the line that defined the moment. Mendeecees, however, woke up to a storm that showed no signs of calming. His phone buzzed relentlessly with texts from family members, messages from old friends, and even calls from people who hadn't reached out in years. Everyone wanted to know the same thing: what was really happening with him and Yandy? He sat quietly in his living room, scrolling through the endless flood of posts, his expression dark and unreadable. Yandy, on the other hand, seemed to be sending her own silent messages. Her social media story was filled with quotes about strength, loyalty, and protecting one's peace. Fans immediately connected the dots, speculating that these cryptic posts were aimed at the situation. One line in particular, "Sometimes silence is the loudest answer," sent shockwaves across the internet. Followers debated whether she was taking a jab at Mendeecees or simply protecting herself from the chaos. Back in the group, Spice and Scrappy met up again, still fired up from the night before. Spice shook her head, recounting the look on Mendeecees' face. "He wasn't just uncomfortable," she told Scrappy, her voice firm. "He was hiding something. I could see it in the way he kept dodging, the way he couldn't look us straight in the eye. Something bigger going on, and he just don't want to say it. He just don't want to." Scrappy wasn't convinced at first. "Maybe he just tired of everybody in his business," he offered. But even he couldn't deny the heaviness in his friend's words the night before. "Still, you're right about one thing," Scrappy admitted. "He ain't never looked that lost before. Usually he's steady no matter what. Last night, he looked like he ain't even know who he was." Meanwhile, Carly was thriving in the drama. She called up a couple of friends, spilling every detail with relish, adding her own flavor to the story. Girl, he couldn't even say yes or no, she laughed into the phone. And the way Spice came at him? Chiley, I thought he was gonna melt right there in the seat. Her laughter only fueled the narrative further, making sure that by afternoon, everyone connected to the cast had heard about the confrontation. Mendeecees' silence only deepened the intrigue. Instead of releasing a statement or defending himself online, he stayed quiet, almost daring the rumors to swallow him whole. But that silence left space for others to fill in the blanks, and soon wild theories began circulating. Some claimed he and Yandy were living separately. Others insisted he'd been spotted with another woman. And a few even suggested that the couple had already broken up months ago and were simply keeping it under wraps for the cameras. In the midst of all this chaos, Yandy sat with her close circle, her expression calm but her heart clearly weighed down. One of her friends asked directly, "Are you gonna address what everybody's saying?" Yandy shook her head slowly. "People gonna talk no matter what, but I can't let their voices decide my truth. When the time is right, I'll speak. Until then, let them wonder." Her words carried strength, but her eyes betrayed the storm brewing beneath the surface. The tension spilled over when Spice decided to confront Yandy directly. Meeting her later that week, Spice didn't waste time. "Sis, you know I love you, but I can't sit back and watch this mess unfold without asking. Where y'all really at? 'Cause Mendeecees acting like he don't even know." Yandy took a deep breath, her hands folded neatly in her lap. "We've been through more than anyone could imagine," she said carefully. "I don't need to explain every detail to the world. But I will say this. Marriage ain't easy, and when you're living in the spotlight, every flaw gets magnified. We're figuring things out, but it's not simple." Spice leaned in, refusing to let the conversation end so neatly. "But when he can't even say if y'all together or not, that's not figuring things out. That's leaving it wide open for everybody to decide for him." Yandy's face tightened, and for the first time, her calm slipped. "Do you think I don't know that? Do you think I don't hear the whispers, see the comments? I hear it all. But sometimes the only way to protect what's left is to stay quiet until you're ready to fight again." The room fell silent, Spice staring at her with a mix of sympathy and frustration. She wanted to push harder, but the vulnerability in Yandy's voice kept her from pressing too far. Still, the damage had been done. The cracks in the story were showing, and even the strongest defense couldn't cover them completely. The fans picked up on every subtle detail. Side-by-side clips of Mendeecees' hesitation, and Yandy's cryptic posts flooded timelines, with viewers declaring that the couple's era was officially ending. Others held on to hope, arguing that 2 decades of love couldn't be undone by a few tense conversations. The divide among fans grew sharper, each side convinced they knew the truth better than anyone else. Meanwhile, Scrappy caught up with Mendeecees again, this time trying a softer approach. "Man, I ain't here to pressure you," he said quietly. "But if you hurting, you gotta talk to somebody. 'Cause the way you left that night, it didn't look good. It looked like you drowning and you too stubborn to ask for help." Mendeecees sat silently for a long moment before finally responding. "It's hard, Scrap. When everybody looking at you like you supposed to have all the answers and you don't. I don't know how to fix it. I don't even know if it can be fixed. All I know is I don't want to lose her, but I don't know if wanting is enough anymore." Those words hit Scrappy harder than he expected. It was one thing to see doubt on his friend's face, but another to hear it so plainly spoken. For the first time, Scrappy realized the situation wasn't just about drama or rumors. It was about a man torn between history, loyalty, and the terrifying possibility of losing everything he'd built. But reality TV thrives on unresolved tension, and this story was far from finished. As the days passed, the divide between Yandy and Mendeecees grew more visible, and the people around them struggled to decide whether to step in or step back. Whispers of betrayal, loyalty, and secrets swirled in every direction, leaving everyone to wonder whether the truth would come out in a confession, a fight, or a heartbreaking goodbye. As the weeks went on, the tension only grew heavier, spilling from quiet conversations into full-blown speculation across every circle connected to the show. What had started as a heated dinner exchange between Spice, Scrappy, and Mendeecees had now snowballed into the defining storyline of the season. Every cast member had an opinion, and every fan was convinced they alone had figured out the truth. The whispers were constant, the posts relentless, and no matter how much Mendeecees tried to hide behind silence, the storm refused to calm. It wasn't just friends anymore, it was family too. One of Mendeecees' relatives pulled him aside during a family gathering, their tone stern. "We love you, but you can't keep dodging. People talking crazy about Yandy, about you, about your marriage. This ain't just about television anymore, it's about respect. Clear the air before someone else clears it for you. The words hit hard, but even then he struggled to find his footing. Yandy, meanwhile, carried herself with poise, but those closest to her could see the cracks beneath the surface. At a small get-together with her sisters, she finally allowed herself to break. "Do you know what it's like?" she whispered through tears. "To fight every single day for your family and then watch it slip away in front of cameras. To see the man you gave everything for act like he don't even know if you're still worth it." Her sisters comforted her, but the pain was raw and undeniable. Spice wasn't about to let things stay quiet. She organized a sit-down with both Mendeecees and Yandy, determined to drag the truth out into the open. The cameras captured every tense second as the couple sat across from one another, their bodies stiff, their eyes avoiding each other. Spice wasted no time. "Look, both of y'all been dancing around this for too long. The streets already made up their own story. It's time to tell us if it's real or if y'all just pretending for the cameras." The silence stretched on for what felt like forever before Yandy finally spoke. Her voice was calm, but the pain laced through every syllable. "I don't need to pretend for anyone. I've built everything I have on my own strength, and I've carried more than people will ever know. But I can't carry it all by myself forever." Her eyes flickered toward Mendeecees, waiting for him to finally stand beside her with words instead of silence. Mendeecees shifted in his seat, his jaw tightening. "I never asked you to carry it all," he muttered, his voice heavy. "But you took that weight, and now you throwing it back like I never tried. I've been there in ways nobody's seen, but that don't count because I ain't shouting it from the rooftops," Spice interjected sharply. "But it do count because she's sitting here saying she feel alone. You think the fans care about what's unseen? They care about what they feel. And right now, everybody feels like Yandy fighting solo while you stuck on pause." The words stung, and Mendeecees' eyes burned with a mix of anger and guilt. For a brief second, it looked like he might finally explode. But instead, he stood abruptly, pacing the floor with his hands clenched. "I'm tired of everybody acting like they know my marriage better than me. Tired of people asking if we together like we some experiment. This ain't entertainment, this is my life." The room grew tense, Yandy watching him with an unreadable expression. Her silence, more than his outburst, spoke volumes. Scrappy, sitting off to the side, shook his head and finally spoke. "Bro, you can yell all you want, but what you really mad at is the truth. You scared she's slipping away, and you don't know how to stop it." Mendeecees froze, the words cutting him deeper than any accusation. His silence confirmed what everyone suspected but what he had refused to admit. He was terrified. Not just of losing his wife, but of losing the identity he had built with her over 2 decades. Carly, never missing her chance, leaned in with a smirk. "So is this the end of the fairy tale?" she asked softly, her voice dripping with drama. "'Cause it sure don't look like happily ever after." Her words hung in the air, igniting gasps and side eyes from everyone else in the room. Yandy finally broke her silence again, her voice stronger this time. "This isn't about fairy tales. This is about respect, loyalty, and honesty. And right now, I feel like I've been holding up this marriage by myself. I don't know how long I can keep doing it." The vulnerability in her tone silenced even Carly, who for once had no snide remark to add. The fans watching at home were left stunned. Twitter timelines filled instantly with reactions, some siding with Yandy for her strength, others criticizing Mendeecees for failing to step up, and a few still clinging to the hope that the couple could weather this storm. Memes flooded the internet, with screenshots of his silence paired with captions like, "Say it with your chest," and confused husband energy. The scene closed with no resolution, just heavy emotions hanging in the air. Spice looked around the table, shaking her head in disbelief. "If y'all don't figure this out, the world gonna figure it out for you. And once that happens, there's no coming back." Mendeecees and Yandy exchanged a long, complicated glance, the kind of look that held 2 decades of history. Love, betrayal, forgiveness, and exhaustion all at once. It was a look that said everything and nothing. A look that left fans screaming at their screens for answers that never came. As they walked out of the room, cameras catching every step, the unanswered questions lingered louder than any fight. Were they still together? Or was this the beginning of the end? No one knew, not even them. But what was certain was this: the drama had exploded, the pressure had been applied, and the cracks in their story could no longer be ignored. The fallout spread beyond the cast, with fans demanding clarity, blogs dissecting every frame, and gossip outlets publishing wild theories about what would happen next. Whether this was the unraveling of a love story, or just another storm they would survive together. One thing was clear. Season 13 had found its most unforgettable moment, and the world couldn't stop watching. And there you have it, the moment that has everybody talking, the confrontation that turned an ordinary night into one of the most unforgettable clashes of the season. Spice and Scrappy didn't hold back. Carly fanned the flames, and Mendeecees found himself in the hot seat like never before. Yandy's strength, her silence, and her subtle hints only added fuel to the fire, leaving fans split down the middle about what's really going on behind closed doors. After 2 decades of love, family, and loyalty, could this really be the breaking point? Or is this just another storm that will eventually pass? The truth is, nobody knows for sure, and that's exactly what keeps the suspense alive. Will Mendeecees finally step up and prove the doubters wrong, or will Yandy decide she's carried the weight long enough? Is Spice right to demand clarity? Or did she push too far into private matters? And of course, is Carly stirring the pot just for the cameras? Or did she accidentally expose something real? These are the questions echoing across social media, dividing fans, and sparking endless debates. Now we want to hear from you. Do you believe Yandy and Mendeecees can overcome this storm? Or are we watching the end of one of the show's most talked about couples? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let your voice be heard, and join the conversation that's shaking the entire love and hip-hop Atlanta community. Make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single update, and turn on the notifications so you're the first to know when the next piece of drama unfolds. Trust me, what's coming next is something you will not want to miss.